Hello and welcome to my part of the Year 11 information evening. It's Miss Trigg for all of you that haven't worked it out by the accent yet, and I will be going through for our wonderful year group strategies for helping with organisation, study skills and homework at the point of the education that we are at. So I will start with some tips and pointers that we can use for organisation. Organising your materials. So my advice would be getting everything ready for school and collecting that all up before the night before, keeping it in the same kind of spot. Making sure that the work that we need to do every day and that we need to bring home is completed and that we're writing that down. We've got a list, whether that be a planner or a place, but we've got a list that we are checking off. We're not just leaving it all down to memory where human error can come in. Make sure that you check your space that you store things in at school, whether that be your form room with your form tutor, your locker, but make sure every day before you leave school, you are checking that you've got everything that you need for that night so that everything can go smoothly. Make sure that we're following teacher direction about where to put information, whether that be information, letters going home or work that's being returned to you, that you know where that you're putting that. So is that a place in your bag, blazer, etc. And so important information doesn't get lost. Don't leave anything that you don't need for school, kind of cluttering up our main spaces. So your locker, rubbish, things that have already passed, old exercise books, get them out. You do not want to be carrying around things that are not essential for our day. Keep all your study materials that you use at home, so paper, pencils, calculator. Have a batch that are separate that you keep at home, as well as the ones you bring into school, so that when you get home, you are set up and ready to go. Make sure you listen to parents, guardians, people at home taking care of you. Their advice, they've been through this. They've had to go through these stages of their lives about organisation. Make sure that you listen to the advice that they are trying to give you. Make a daily time to do your homework and make sure that you keep to that schedule. Okay, moving on to time management tips that I'm going to give out. Be ready when you sit down to actually do your study. Have all your books and materials at home in that area. Like I've just mentioned, have your own set of things so you don't have to be getting everything out and starting from scratch every day. So as soon as you get home in the area in your room that you use as kind of your study area, you've got everything there. Be ready to study as soon as you sit down. Always do the hardest assignments first, even though they're not the ones that you're going to want obviously to do first. It's human nature to go for the easiest one, but if you save the easiest one for last, it will feel like the end is nearer. Always hit the hardest one first and then move on to the easier ones that you know you'll even enjoy doing sometimes. If you get sleepy or you can't concentrate, get up, have a break, even if it's just shaking yourself off. Move around, get something to eat, get a drink, go and see your pet for 20 minutes. Just get up, make sure that you're back alert, and then get back to study. Do not just push through being sleepy, sat at a desk. It will not go well. Techniques that match your learning style, massively important. I'm going to speak a little bit about this so you can see, if you don't already know, possibly try and identify what your learning style is and use the study techniques that you know that then match your learning style. It'll save you time. Study for a few nights before a test, not just the night before, not on the way to school on the bus. Make sure you're reviewing what you've learned that morning before school, but give yourself the opportunity to succeed and do well. Make sure that you are studying at least a few nights before that test is due. If you're absent for a day, just catch up. Catch up right away. That rhymes. Make sure you do not get behind. All right. So making sure we're taking responsibility to catch up on the work that we have missed. Organisation tools that are essential and amazingly useful and that we need. We have got our planner, folders, notebooks, colour-coded file tabs, pencil case and a clear workspace. Moving on to study skills section. Learning styles. We have three different types of learning style. Are you a visual learner, which means you learn by seeing? Are you an auditory learner, which means you learn by hearing information? Or are you a kinesthetic learner, that you learn by doing? Everyone learns differently, and you, like I said, to save time, would benefit if you studied in the way that's most helpful to you. So here would be a few examples if you've managed to identify which kind of learner you are. Visual learner, highlight or underline main ideas. Make an outline or a mind map of main ideas. To study for a test, do something you can see, lists, drawings, copying words. Use index cards to make flashcards, separate into know and don't know piles. Play memory games, those kind of things, so you see it and then you don't. Use a computer or draw on a dry whiteboard as you study, so again, you've got something to look at. Use a planner to write down assignments daily. And never watch TV while you're studying. If you're a visual learner, that will take all your attention away from your actual study. Auditory learners. Read aloud instead of silently. Tape record items. So tape record yourself, quite like I'm doing now, to make sure that you can play it over and listen to yourself and take information in again that way. Play the information back and recite along with the tape. Use music to help you learn. Put information in a tune, make up a song, make up a poem, make up something silly that just rolls off the tongue that you will learn in order to remember some information that you've linked it to. Have another person quiz you at home, at school, and review the information out loud. Study in a quiet place and ensure there's no distractions. And finally, we have our kinesthetic learners. Use objects like coins to help you understand maths, for example, so you're actually physically moving something and counting something out. Tracing or spelling vocabulary words, massive new key terminology words, making sure that we can get the correct spelling when we move forward to examination time. Use maps, globes, puzzles, things like this to study history and geography to make it more touch-based so that you're actually interacting with the work. Teach the information you must learn to somebody else. So you put the information on yourself and then try and teach a younger sibling, a parent, again, so that it's brought to life. Have someone talk through the information with you while you do something active. So it might be that you just walk around the room. It might be that you just stand up and you're moving, again, to make sure that we are in full concentration. And take breaks often during your study time. Have an adult help you develop a system to stay organised. Study environment. So this is about your home environment, the study area that you've set up for yourself in the home. It could be in a dining room, it could be in your bedroom. It differs between households. Even in my own household, mine was my bedroom because I could keep myself my concentration going. My brother, however, was a little bit different. He was more of a kind of kinesthetic learner and likes to move around. So his study area was the dining room, so that he had more space to move around and could be reminded, if distracted, to sit back down. The place. Choose a place where you're able to write neatly and stay alert. Always a table, desk, hard surface. If we're writing on our knees, it's going to make it more time consuming and less comfortable for us. Study in the same place every day. So that area is purely for our work. Light. Make sure to use good overhead lighting. It's not too dim, but it's not too bright. Just to make sure that we are comfortable throughout. Sound. Find a quiet place that you aren't interrupted by others, the radio or TV or other noises. Temperature. Comfortable spot where it's not too hot and cold. Where's your study spot? If these kind of things aren't, if you use this as a checklist and we're not ticking off these kind of points for your study area or environment, you may need to think about changing this. Like we said, doesn't meet the criteria above. Learning strategies. Okay. I would start off by, when we get a new piece of work or revision that we're trying to do, I categorise information by grouping the information into smaller and similar ideas. So instead of looking at one big page and it's all being so overwhelming, I will go, right, well, these are very similar. I'll group them together. Maybe on a flashcard, etc., but categorise that information into groups of similar ideas. Using sequencing skills to put information in a time order. This could be useful for things like history, so that you start to recognise, once repeated, the order things come in, and start getting a pattern in your head that will help us remember. Find the main idea in a paragraph you're reading. Find the detail to support that main idea and highlight those main ideas. Sometimes a lot of the information on a page is not the information that we're going to pick out. Sometimes it's just the smallest bit. So highlight, this is what they want to know about and this is why. And that would help us then answer our questions moving forwards. Use context clues to find the meaning of new words. Use a dictionary. If reading it out in context doesn't actually help you understand what that word means, then do check. Make sure knowledge is power. Make sure that we're getting this knowledge on board. Use illustrations and charts in the textbook to help you understand the information read. Test taking strategies that I would advise on. Read the directions carefully. I am constantly repeating this to all my kind of theory GCSE groups. Read the directions carefully. Read over them. Make sure you understand them. Make sure you've not just interpreted them the way you wanted to in the first instance, whether this means reading it 3 or 4 times. Take objective tests, so things that aren't just about writing an essay question. See if you can answer true or false. See if you can answer multiple choice questions, so that we're giving ourselves a really diverse range of testings. Note taking for the test, mind mapping, outlining, like I said, highlighting is the way that I always went and worked for me. Listening skills, verbal cues, presentation cues, and memorization techniques. This was one of the main things that I used, along with kind of singing songs and making it, highlighting and making tunes for myself. Memorization techniques, getting things in order, repeating them over and over again so that they're sticking in kind of my memory bank. Moving on to how parents, guardians can help with study skills. Okay, so the students, your children that you have may find it hard to manage their time to complete assignments. So discussing steps needed for longer assignments, helping them get started on the bigger assignments. So a starting place, where do we want to be in a week's time, how far are gone. So we've got small achievable goals. Make sure that practice tests are done regularly. The more practice tests we done, honestly, with the students in my kind of PE theory lessons, the more practice tests we do, the better we come out on top. Because if anything, they're just used to setting the kind, or they're used to sitting the kind of exam that then they will have to take. Help avoiding last minute cramming. So if we know that a test is coming up, just review nightly that they are actually doing the work that they need. Talk to them. How are they feeling about it? Especially more than ever, really, under the current climate, we are going to be a lot more nervous, a lot more wary. I think the whole country, in a certain or has a certain effect on this. So talk to them. Make sure that they're feeling okay about it. Read the instructions through carefully with them. Keep track of time, especially on the ones that you're practicing at home. Apologies, I got stuck on my words. Do the easy ones first. Do the easier tests first, so that they're getting a little bit of success. As soon as anybody gets some success, we're in. We want to try again. We want to achieve more. If we start with a hard one, it can be really demoralising, and then they won't want to redo this process. So start with an easier one first. Don't spend too much time on one question. Carrying on, with how parents can help with study skills. Talk about assignments. Do they understand what they need to do? Do they need help understanding it? Do they have everything they need? Does the answer make sense to them? Those are the kind of questions I would be asking. Watch for frustration. If it does occur, you know your child better than anyone. What kind of things are you going to do just to diffuse that before they carry on? Don't let the frustration build and build again, because we don't want this to be a negative experience, even if it's coming back in 20 minutes time. Give constructive criticism. So if they are getting something wrong, it's so important to tell them they are. A lot of the time, teenagers will not want to hear it. Daily, I find this. However, if we say it in a constructive way rather than "that's wrong," if we say it in a helpful way where they can improve, we may not get the same reaction as we would have in the initial. Praise and encourage if they're doing well, even if it's just that actually the test didn't go well, but they sat really well for an hour and worked as hard as they possibly could on that. That needs praise, no matter what kind of result has come through from it. Okay, moving on to the purpose of homework. Review and practice what was taught. I am now speaking back to students of my lovely Year 11, because I more often than I'd like actually get asked the question of, but why do we have to do that at home? We've already gone over that. We've already done it. It's a waste of my time. It is not. Reviewing and practice was what was taught. Practice makes perfect. Over and over and over again, we'll just make sure that this information is going in. It could be that we're preparing for the next day's lesson. So it could be that it isn't something that we've done before or a teacher has done before with you, and they are using a small starter task for you to get a head start on it, so that when they actually get you as a full class into the classroom, they do not have to focus on the little bits. You already have an understanding of what we're starting on, so they can go into the big juicy bits that you actually need to know, and it saves us time and we can complete things at a more effective pace. Learn how to use resources, whether that be kind of websites, etc., on the internet, books that you're given by the member of staff, go into our local library to ensure that we've got all the information we need. Learn to use resources, not just the information we already know. Expand ourselves. Explore subjects more fully than class time permits. So it might be that a teacher has started a topic, so we're going from the other side now. They've started and they actually want you to dive in further because of the time restraints the hour of in the classroom has allowed. Applying skills learned to new situations. So members of staff might know that you've learned how to do a certain new skill, and they're asking you to practice and apply that to different situations so that you can find success. Integrate different skills learned into a single task, project books, and teach students to work independently. Encourage self-discipline and responsibility. This is now down to you guys. No matter what I say to you, Miss Foster says to you, Miss Daly says to you, your parents say to you, we can all nag and say, please, come on, get this done. It will be really beneficial for you. But it all comes down to, it is now your responsibility. We're old enough and we really do have to grasp this and try and get on top of it. Provide opportunities for increased communication, purpose of homework, with your member of staff, so you can ask questions if you're stuck on things. And these are all the reasons that it's put in to help us. Homework tips for parents, how now we can aid our students or your children. Help your child choose a homework kind of drop spot. So basically, when they've finished their work, there's always somewhere they put it. Mine would be my backpack if I was going back to school. It always gets put straight into there so that it's not then forgotten. It's just creating this organisation again, and it's ready. We're ready to go. It's not a rush and a panic and a nightmare the next morning before school. Make sure that we've got this study area or environment that I've been speaking, just an area. It can be a corner of any room in the house that's just set up so that they know that that's where they work. Homework survival kit, just keeping all the supplies, again, not having two sets so that they're not bringing them back from school, losing bits at school, not then having it on an evening to use. Pencils, paper, pens, writing, markers, crayons, folders, dictionary, planner, you name it. All of these kinds of things that I've listed here would be useful to have in their areas. Schedule. Have a schedule up. Have it visible for the whole family. Have it above their study area of just the same time each night when they're expected to be working, so that it's part of their daily routine. Allow them to just tell you when the homework's frustrating them, so then they're not just sat there on their own beating themselves up, getting worse and worse because they're not sure how to do it. If you do get stuck, yeah, you're not stuck there, of course. Come and speak to me, and we'll see if we can get through it together. Do make sure that they're just not trying to get out of work and trying to get you to maybe complete some for them. Encourage them to do it independently as much as possible. Follow directions, etc. This will only help when it comes to examination time of them moving forward. They'll feel a lot more confident if they've had this independent practice. Motivate them. Praise them, like I said, just little tiny specific goals, even if it's not actually the result of the test. It doesn't have to be in the first instance what mark they're getting or what knowledge they had, because we're only just starting out with this process. It could be that they've worked really hard and they've sat through the whole thing and completed it, even if it did get frustrating, even if it did get tough. And then you can move on to more praise, result, evidence kind of as we move on, because like I said, in the starting block, just sitting there and getting it done would be an achievement in the first instance. Use a long range planner. So for longer project goals, again, it could be like a year wall planner that could be up in the house. Make them take breaks. So study for 20 minutes, have a 5-minute break. It will just refresh them, revamp them, and they'll be more likely to go back to it and get more done effectively. Limit the homework time to the amount of time that it says it should take to complete. So don't let them spend 3 hours on one project where it said it's only a 60-minute project, because they want to make it look beautiful and all underlined, and there's obviously a place for that, but make sure that they're not wasting time, because that is something that they enjoy and they're trying to put off going on to the subjects that they're avoiding, because either it's not their favourite, or that they may be struggling, and it's kind of head in the sand trying to avoid that. So limit the time on each one. Never give the child more than a few answers on an assignment, like we just briefly spoke about. Don't do it for them, but help them. Talk to the teacher if your child's struggling. Take a step back if you feel like you're finding it frustrating, because you don't want to resolve their problems. Okay, homework related problems, what to do when. These are kind of things that come into myself on email. So they've done it, but it's not their best work. They're refusing to do it. They're being set the work, but I can't even help them because they're not bringing it home. They're taking all night to just do one task or to finish it. They won't do it on their own. Someone's got to sit with them, and they wait till the last minute to either finish the assignments or want to do it if a parent is not home. Well, these are the kind of things I would do, or in the first instance, every scenario is kind of different, but this is a bit of advice that I would give. Obviously, still email me in and we can work through these together. So talk with the teacher as early as possible in the school year before problems arise. If you can see them already coming up, get in touch now with that subject teacher, because it will help us. As soon as the problem comes up, again, contact straight away. Request meetings. They might have to be done virtually now, but they can still be meetings nonetheless, to kind of discuss the concerns and what you think's going on. We don't see them as soon as they leave here at 3 o'clock. You do. So the information that you can give her and gather to us is invaluable. Let them know if they're finding stuff too easy or too hard, so that we can adapt accordingly. Work out a way to solve or lessen the problem, and keep communication open and clear with the student as well, with your child as well as members of staff in school. Follow up to make sure that the setup that you've got once you've had that meeting is working. Tell the teachers when you've got concerns. So this would be talking with teachers to resolve kind of the problems. So when you have concerns, tell them. If the child refuses to do, instructions are unclear, the child really struggles to get organised to kind of finish. If they haven't got the supplies or materials they need, massive, just tell us. Tell the member of staff if it's specific to certain subjects, but please copy me in because there might be things that we can do to help. Can't understand the purpose of the assignment, find out the purpose so that you can fight fire with fire and go straight back so that we're getting moving as quickly as possible. If again they find it too hard or easy, and if it's uneven amounts, this is a big one. So if you find that one night they're so overwhelmed and it's the worst evening because they've got 4 or 5 pieces, it's way too much. But then another night there's nothing and they had to cram all that in, so then they're tired for the rest of the week. Make sure that you're telling us that. And telling members of staff that, because there are things easily that we can do to fix that, and that's not something then that they'd have to go through. If your child has missed school and there's things that they've missed, make sure you get in contact so that we can send those out and they can catch up. If you have any questions about this PowerPoint or anything moving forward, please just bob myself an email. It's lisa.trig@astrayasivo.org. I really hope you found this useful, and like I said, just get in touch. Thank you very much, and I will see you all soon.